Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. I would just like to find out if everybody can hear me loud and clearly. You can just raise your hand or send me a message. Okay, so on tonight's webinar, we will be discussing just the overview of the software. So as you can see, I am already on the software's page, encompass.sharetrackin.com. And it takes me to my login page. I have my details saved on here, so it's already filled in. So now I'm just going to click login. Okay, once I'm successfully logged in, I will get to this screen. So this is my investment dashboard. So if I'm talking about my investment dashboard, this is for my longer term trading. So in other words, if I decide to buy a share and keep it for at least 3 months, then I would do it on my investment dashboard. Now, as you can see here, there are a few accounts on mine, and you will see that the only one that's basically not above 100,000 is my simulation account. The rest of my accounts is all above 100,000. You would also see here that I have my profit and loss table. So your income is what your shares is worth currently. Expenditure is what you paid for everything, and your profit is the difference between these two, would give me my profit. Market values. So market values will show as soon as I then click on a account that has shares in. So then I would get the current value of my share. Then next up, I have accounts. So underneath accounts, I would get the account's name. For instance, simulation. The market balance is what this portfolio is currently worth. The cash balance is what I have to spend on shares. Investment value is what I invested. Total brokerage cost. So since I started using the simulation account, how much brokerage did I pay? And then my growth and loss is how much I made or lost. Or if there's no shares like these in my test and simulation, it would then show a 0. If I then go down to my investment summary for my buy sell buy account, or I can even use my Karel account, I would then get the company's code. So this is the companies I invested in, was SRE, which is Ceres Real Estate, SSW, which is Sibanye Stillwater, and RBP is Royal Bafokeng Platinum. The quantity is the number of shares I invested. Unit cost is what one share cost me with brokerage. Total cost is what I paid, including brokerage. Current price is the current price of the share. Current value is the value of my 400 SRE shares. Today's movement, this is in cents. So how much did it move? So I can see that all three of my shares went negative, and that I know with this minus in front. Overall move, that's in rands. So since I purchased this share, how much did it go up or drop? So I can see I already made 1,351 rand out of this share. And overall move, percentage wise, how much did I make out of this share? On the action button, if I do click on that, here I can set up my stop loss, I can sell the share, or I can even buy additional shares. But I'm not going to go too deeply into that. That would be a webinar for another night. If I then go to the left-hand side where I have my side menu, I have my dashboard, my investment dashboard, that one we went through now, and the next one is my trader dashboard. So there's a difference between the two. Your investment dashboard, that is for your longer term trading, like I said, and your trader dashboard, that's more for people that want to trade daily or weekly. Now, I have the same, I have the account balances, I have my profit and my loss. So what I gain, what I gain, this is what it cost me, would give me my profit and my loss. And then the market value of the current share that's in my portfolio. Under accounts, exactly the same. You get the account name. Market balance is what the account is worth right now. Cash balance is what I have left to spend. Investment value is what I invested as my margin. Total margin cost would be my margin that I invested. Growth or loss would then show me if I'm making a gain or a loss. So I can see I'm making 232 Rand on this share. Summary 4, exactly the same. I get the company's code, so I invested in AGL. Now on CFD trading, you can trade in different directions. You can trade when the share is growing, that's called a long, or you can trade when the share is going down, that's called a short. So this one I invested in as a long. I invested in 100 shares. One share cost me 628 Rand and 99 cents. My margin at that time was 6,298 Rand. So that was what I invested in. And the current price is what it's currently worth. Today's movement, also in cents. Overall move, that is the overall move percentage wise, and then your profit and loss would show you whether you're making a gain or a loss. If I go to action, I can then close the position here. If I click on it, I can then close the position. So I'm going to say close there. Then next up, I have a Sharetrackin Prosper demo. It's just a video explaining what Sharetrackin is all about. Next up, I have my analysis. I have my world market indicators. So first of all, I can see my resources. I get the code of the resource, the name. So whether I'm looking at my Brent crude oil, my gold per kilogram, palladium, platinum, silver, it gives me that. It gives me the current price, the percentage that it moved for the day, and when it was last modified, in other words, when it was last updated. And then the movement shows me whether it's a growth, a no movement, or a loss. Then, next up, I have currencies. So most of you may ask the question about these. They are busy correcting the percentage movement. So underneath currencies, this is more for forex trading. So people that trade with the currencies, you get the name. So whether it's the euro to the US dollar or the ZAR to the euro, the price. So what one is worth so how much 1 euro is worth 1 US dollar, what the movement for the day is, when it was last updated, and whether there's no movement or it's a loss or a growth. Market indicators. So underneath my market indicators, I would see the different types of markets. In other words, I would get the international market, the France market, the Germany market, the Chinese market, the Japanese market, and the South African market. I would get the change it has for the day in level wise, the percentage it moved for the day, the level it's currently at, and then the time it was last modified. So when it was last updated. Next up, I have my stock movement view. So my stock movement view basically shows me the top 40 blue chip shares, your top 10 volume shares, your top 10 best and worst performers, your price earnings average, your top 10 shares bought by clients, and so the list goes on. First of all, it will give you a market sentiment, but currently it's not giving us one because the markets are closed, because the market closes at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and then only opens at 9 o'clock in the morning. So if I click on my top 40 blue chip shares, I would get the 40 largest companies on the JSE. So I'm getting the company's code, the company's price, so what one share is worth in rands, and then the percentage movement I had for the day. If I'm not too sure about the code, I can click on the share, and then I can see, okay, it's Process NV. The code is PRX. Process is a global consumer internet group and one of the largest technology investors in the world. So it gives me a brief description of the share. From there on, I can see the director dealings. So what the directors are doing with their shares. I can see when they pay out dividends, how much they pay out. I can see their financial statements, the market news. So any news in the market regarding Process would then be under market news. You can see the detail, the broker consensus or forecast. This is what the brokers predict will happen to the share over the next 3 years. A snapshot and then history of the share. From here on, I can buy shares, I can view my charting, or I can add it to my watch list. But I'm just going to click on close because that will do on another day. Next up, I have my top 10 volume. I see questions are coming through. All questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. Top 10 volume is the number of shares that traded hands during a trading day. So that was the number of shares that was bought and sold in a day's time. That is what volume stands for, the number of shares that traded hands. So this is for the month. I get the company's code, the closing price, the volume. So the volume is then for the month, not the day. And again, if I do click on the share, like AEG, I would get Aveng Limited and I would get a brief description of the share. I'm just going to click on close there. Next up, I have my top 10 best performers. So these are the 10 shares that's performing the best of your top 40 blue chip shares. So you get the company's code, the company's price per share in rands, and the movement it had for the day. Next up, you have your top 40 or your top 10 worst performers out of your top 40 blue chip shares. So you get the company's code, closing price for the previous trading day, and then the volume it had for the day. Price earnings average. This is just to show you more or less what you can make as an average out of a specific sector. Top 10 shares bought by clients. So these are the 10 shares that's mostly bought by Sharetrackin's clients, not necessarily the 10 best shares on the JSE. So I get the company's code, the company's name, and then the movement it had for the day. Again, if I do click on the share, I can go and view the share. I'm just waiting for it to finish loading so that I can close. Okay. Next up, I have my strongest stocks, percentage above 200-day moving average. So for those of you who already know a bit about the graphs, we insert a red line on your graphs. It's called the moving average. It gives you the average price of the share. Now, you would more likely look at a share that's above its average than below its average. So the strongest stocks is the shares that's above its moving average based on a 200-day calculation. So I get the company's code, the company's name, and then the percentage it's above its own average. Weaker stocks, these are the shares that's below its own average. So these would be more or less the shares to avoid. Yes, first of all, you would note there's a few gold shares in between. Gold isn't doing that well at the moment, and the guru also, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, she spoke about the gold shares not doing that well. So I get the company's code, the company's name, and then the movement it's below its own average. I have my positive share sector movement. So it gives me the sector, and then next to it gives me a code. In other words, in the basic materials sector, ACL is the share that's performing the best. And then it gives me the price per share in rands, and then the movement percentage that it had for the day. If I then go to negative share sector movement, it gives me the company that's performing the worst in its sector for the day. In other words, KP2 is performing the worst in the basic material sector for today. The price is 27 cents and it went negative by 3.57%. If I then go back to my side menu, I'm going to click on the winning shares list, also under analysis. The winning shares list is set up by our guru. So we have a lady working for us with more than 15 years of experience. Last year been appointed as one of South Africa's top 5 technical analysts. So she does webinars twice a week. So on a Tuesday evening from 7 to 7:30, and then on a Thursday afternoon from 1 till 1:30, with different topics each week. So the winning shares list is also something that she handles herself. And these are shares that she goes and analyzes. And then if she sees that this share will give you good growth over a long period, it will then become a winning share. So first of all, I have a guru watch list. So the guru watch list is 3 shares that she says we can keep our eye on. And she also gives you a reason for that. Okay? But then she says also consider this share. So here's only one. And she gives you the reason for that. BHP Group PLC, go long, good potential in 6 months. In other words, it can go up to 632 Rand and 10 cents. Latest performers are shares that's been added to the winning shares list, but only started performing good quite recently. Recently added was the last shares that she added. So these are the last 10 shares that she added onto the winning shares list. I get the company's code, I get the company's name. Then I get the price per share, what it was worth the day she added the share. That's in cents. The latest is the current price per share, also in cents. The percentage gain, so what it grew or lost since she added the share, and then the date she added the share, and then the status, whether this share is making a gain or, like Telkom, a loss. So I will note that this share this year she added 4 shares already. Sasol, which from the 1st of January up until now grew by 72.91%, as an example. Next up, I have my charting tool. So charting tools isn't really something we use. It's the smaller version of our big charting. We have our heat map, which just shows you the shares that's performing the best to the shares that's performing the worst in the form of a heat map. So from green going to red, green being the best, and then obviously red being the worst. Then I have my stocks. That is where I go to select shares and analyze shares, which we will not be handling tonight. The golden goose, also something maintained by our guru herself, which we will still do a webinar on as well. Next up, I have accounts. If I look at accounts, there's the invest button. So that's the longer way to invest. Financials. If I do click on financials, so it gives me the transaction history of my CFD account. But if I click on select an account where it says CFD, I can go and click on any account there and click on transaction history, and it will give me the full history of my account. It also gives me a summary. So your income versus your investments that you sold and what you made. So it's a brief summary of what your portfolio is worth. Current holdings, what you currently have in it. Safety ratchets, what do your safety ratchets tell you to do or advise you, more advised than tell. So we have a safety net that works on your stop loss, your growth stop loss, and your target value. So based on these three, it would then give you an indication if you are not sure what to do with the share. If your stop loss, growth stop loss, and target value has been set it up, automatically your safety net will tell you, okay, like in my case, it will tell me, okay, sell Cirrus Real Estate because I've reached my growth stop loss of 3%, meaning this share already dropped by 3%. Sibanye Stillwater and Royal Bafokeng, it tells me sell because I've reached my target value. I have exceeded my target value on the contrary, because my target value was on 74 Rand and 78 cents, and this share is currently on 112 Rand and 20 cents. But I must still go and look at my graphs and make my final decision there. Next up, I have transactions. Like I said, the full history of your account. Cash flow, so how your money went in and out of the account. Income and expenses, your income versus your expenses, which gives you your balance. Manage account, so this is where I can add accounts, where I can delete accounts, and that's what I can do here. Next up, I have calculators. So I have investment calculator. So if I'm someone that's trading longer term and I want to see more or less what the brokerage would be if I decide to, let's use Royal Bafokeng Platinum or BP, I type in the code there, it gives me the result. I click on Royal Bafokeng Platinum. Automatically, you will see it fills in the company's code and the company's price per share currently. Now I can say, okay, I want to buy, let's say, for instance, 50 shares. It gives you a break-even point. So your break-even point percentage would be the percentage that you are going to start in a minus with because of your brokerage fees that you are paying. So immediately when I buy the share, I'm already exceeding my value of the share. So I'm going to start in a minus. And so ideally your break-even point would be underneath 4%. So let's try 60 shares. Let's try 65. 66, which brings me just underneath 4%. So I am going to start in a minus of more or less 3.96%. My brokerage would be R155.95. So that is basically transaction fees that you are paying to obtain the shares. Your total would be what they are going to deduct from your account. So they will be then deducting 7,561 Rand and 15 cents from my account. My sell brokerage. So I pay transaction fees both when I buy the share and when I sell the share. So my sell brokerage would be 137 Rand and 43 cents. Then I have my break-even price. In other words, if I did my analysis and it shows me I can go and buy in now. If I buy in at 112 Rand and 20 cents, this share must at least grow up until 116 Rand and 65 cents in order for me to make my money back. Anything above this would then be my profit. Next up, I have my education tab. Underneath education, I have my lecture modules. So this is reading material. You will see there's 4 different categories with different modules that you can work through. In other words, if I click on your motivation and I click on more, I would then see a whole, I can then see a whole paragraph that I can read or a module that I can read. And at the end, it tells you you should watch the following 2 webinars now. Those 2 webinars has something to do either with this reading piece that you just did, or maybe the next one that you are going to do. And then right at the bottom, I can click close. And so I can work them through. Next up, I have my exams. I can select the category. So I was at introductory. Select the module, your motivation, and then I can say start exam. It's a monkey puzzle. So it gives you an option to select A, B, or C. It asks you a bunch of different questions, and from there on, you can teach yourself. Next up, I have webinars under education. So the Sharetrackin webinars, if you do work through your lecture modules, which is advised, and to do your exams, if you do your lecture modules, you don't need to separately come and watch your Sharetrackin webinars. In other words, these are the videos that's built into the lecture modules. Unless there's a specific one that after the time you would like to go and view, you would find them here. The next one is my live webinars archive. So this is where all the previous webinars that was hosted and recorded will lie. I can view them from here. You will see there's 336 of them. Next up, I have my Sharetrackin tubes. These are videos that you can watch at any time. More information. Webinar bookings. So these are where you can see what webinars are coming up, and if you so you will note that the Sharetrackin basics, to those of you who previously joined our basic webinars, you will note that they are all in the evening, where the one was on a Tuesday afternoon and the other one was on a Thursday evening. Both of them are now in the evenings. So Monday evenings, it's me, and Thursday evenings, it's my colleague Rudy now. So here I can go and see what webinars are coming up. And there I can see that on the 22nd of April, from 1 till 1:30, it's the Guru. She is discussing a portfolio watch list. Prepare to buy part 2, and she gives you the shares that she's going to analyze. And from there on, I can say make booking to actually join the webinar. So I'm just going to go through it so that you can see how it looks if you are fairly new. If you clicked on the make booking, it immediately brings you to this page. From here on, I would just fill in my name, my surname, and my email address, and I would click on register. This will then send a link to your email address that you inserted here, and from there on you can just click on the link at the specified time and date to join the webinar. Then the last thing under education I have here would be my glossary. So this is basically a dictionary for the JSE. So I can either search it up by the first letter, or I can do a glossary search where I physically type in the name of whatever it is I want to know, and it will give me the description. Next up, I have news and information. So I have my market news. My market news is all the news regarding the market. So this may take quite some time to load. And I have market information, which I can also go and look at. Okay. Okay. Then while this is loading, I have a media tab, which I can also use, which I will explain now. I'm just waiting for it to finish loading. Like I said, it's loading all the market news that we have regarding the market. So your market news, depending on your internet speed, may take quite some time to load. But as I can see here, the last one was Life Esidimeni, tragedy inquest date set for Pretoria High Court. Now I can go and read there, and the source was the South African, and the date was today. Like I said, the last one you would have on your account would be media. So that's where you can find our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and also our blog, where another analyzer is doing webinars as well. So you can find him there. The support function you don't have, and then it would be the close side menu button, which then basically closes my side menu. Okay, and that was tonight's webinar. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. To those of you who want to stay behind and ask questions, you are more than welcome to do so. To those of you who's leaving the webinar, may you have a blessed evening, and next week Monday I will be here, same time, same date, same time, different date. We will be then discussing analyzing shares, how to use your share filter, your additional advisor, and your charting and your watch list. That will be the topic of next week's webinar. Like I said, underneath education, webinars, webinar bookings, you can also make a booking. You don't need to wait for the email to come out, as we made it a bit easier for you to also go and make your planning according to webinars that you can join and can't join.